Hi, and welcome to APUSH with Lennox, and today we're talking topic 1.2, Native American societies before European contact. The big idea I want you to know here is that prior to the Europeans arriving, Native American populations in the Americas were a very diverse people with differing ways of life, and that life was shaped by the geography in which they lived. You're going to have to know the varying regions of North America to understand how Europeans affected Native American lives. When we look at the Americas prior to 1491, we're talking millions and millions and millions of people who lived here. And if we try to lump them all into a category where we see Native Americans riding across the plains, hunting buffalo and living in teepees, well, we're doing a lot of Native American cultures a disservice because there were so many different cultures within the Americas. And so you need to understand how those cultures were developed and why they developed the way they did. When you look at the Americas, you break it into North, Central, and South America. I'm going to touch briefly on Central and South America. Not technically part of our history, but you should understand that there were three major empires in the Central and Southern American regions that affected Native Americans in North America. Those three civilizations were the Aztecs, the Maya, and the Incas. Starting at the further south, we're going to start with the Incas, who could be found in modern-day Peru in the Andes Mountains. They established extensive irrigation systems, and they based their economy on farming and trading. At the height of their existence, they had nearly 16 million people in their population. A little bit further north on the Yucatan Peninsula is the Mayan. The Mayan, like the Inca, based their economy on agriculture and trade. They too created vast irrigation systems. They also built these huge palaces and huge temples that are still standing today. Moving north into modern-day Mexico, maybe a tribe you're more familiar with, the Aztec. The Aztec are centered around a capital city of Tenochtitlan. That capital city was home to nearly 300,000 Aztecs. They had a very strong central government. They also had a very strong religious influence in their society. The Aztec are known for a couple things. Number one, their agricultural abilities and their irrigation systems. Number two, human sacrifice. There were times when crops just didn't come in, so they just sacrificed somebody. I don't know how they picked them. Maybe it was just whoever was standing closest to the priest. Just saying. But why these three civilizations play such an important role in our history is because they were all farming-based societies, and one thing they all grew was corn, also known as maize. And the farming of corn or maize cultivation is going to expand into North America and allow civilizations and cultures to develop here that is based on the same ideas. The first region I want you to be familiar with is the region of the Southwest, modern-day Arizona and New Mexico. The tribe I want you to know is the Pueblo. The Pueblo were farmers. They were part of that maize cultivation expansion. They created irrigation systems, which you know they're going to need because they live in Arizona and New Mexico. That area, is like mostly desert and it's really hot. And they lived in small urban centers. They built their homes out of adobe or clay. And sometimes you can go down there and you can find actual cliff dwellings where they carved their cities into the side of the mountain. As you start to move further north into North America and you go to the Pacific Northwest, you have another group of cultures, or you have another example of Native American culture. The tribes up there, the Chinook and the Chumash, well, what they did was they based their lives around fishing and hunting small game and plant life. They lived on the coast, so they also set up coastal trade networks. They lived in permanent villages of nearly 1,000 people. Moving into the center of North America, we're going to get into the Great Basin and the Great Plains. Now, this is where you're going to find the Native Americans that have been personified in our movies and in our TV shows. The Great Plains Indians were hunter-gatherers. They were a nomadic culture, meaning they followed the game wherever it went. They relied on buffalo and elk and deer. And because they were a nomadic, they had to pick up and move their homes very easily. This is where you find teepees. Moving into the middle eastern part of our country, you're going into what we refer to as the Mississippi River region. Now, due to the rich soil that you could find there, the civilizations in the Mississippi River Valley relied on farming. But because they were around the rivers, they built huge trade networks and huge urban centers that they built on the economy of trade. A tribe you might want to be familiar with here is the Cahokia. Going down into the southeast of North America, tribes you'll be hearing about there as we go further into the curriculum is the Cherokee and the Creek and the Seminole. In the southeastern part of North America, these tribes were sedentary and they relied on farming as well for their economy. And then finally, let's go to the Northeast. The Northeast is the Native Americans we're going to talk a lot about in the next unit. And here you're going to find a Native American confederacy called the Iroquois. Now, in the Northeast, the Native Americans were able to pull a lot from their environment: lumber, fur, fishing. And the Iroquois and other tribes like them in that region took advantage of all of that. They were a sedentary tribe, and they lived in what we call longhouses. And they were just what it sounds like. They were long houses where you had several generations of a family living together. So the key points you need to know about this unit: understand that before the Europeans got here, there were thousands of different cultures throughout the Native American populations. There were thousands of different languages, different ways of living, different economies, different political structures. They weren't all the same. And then be familiar with the various regions and know a tribe or two that were present there so you can use them as an example. So that's it. That's topic 1.2. We'll see you for the next one. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. And if you ever have any questions, just drop them down in the comments below.